I'll start by talking something which all of you in this room already are, I'm sure, very well aware of. We've made some nationally determined commitments known as NDCs or contributions, nationally determined contributions. And we have been very vocal in all of the COP summits that have happened over the last 5-6 years. These are more prominent. Of course, there have been the Kyoto Treaty and the Paris ones, which have been the most talked about because some serious commitments were made by nations. But specifically for us, we have been trying to build on what we promised. So the table here is just a build-up of those promises. There's, of course, refinements which we have done. In my opinion, we have just become more and more aggressive as a nation in making these commitments. If you have followed COP28, you would know that we have been pushed to make even more aggressive commitments, specifically in the area of renewable energy. As you know, we had a target of 175 in Paris, and then it was revised to 450 and then to 500 gigawatt. And it is very ambitious. I mean, if you know, currently we are roughly about 180 gigawatts of installed capacity. So we are doing well, but the target is for 2030, and so there's a long way to go, right? So it is really an ambitious target just on that one first item, which is renewable energy. And there was talk last month in Dubai about nations should commit to tripling their renewable energy base, tripling as of today, means last year. So now think of it, we were 180. If you have to triple it, it's about 540. So we're not way off from our 500. But it's about, again, in my opinion, the fact that while we are already making these commitments on one end, as a country, we have to make sure that we have a balance with variety of things. I am sure those will come up in the discourse today. But just, looking at the table itself, the other balance required over here is, it's also about reducing our emissions from, all fossil fuel sources. So the simple question is renewable the only answer to getting out of the challenge we face in terms of emissions? So, it's obviously a rhetorical question. Short answer is no, and that's where the energy transition word comes. So, we obviously, essentially it is about electricity production, right? That's why we need many of these fuels. It's not only about electricity. There's a lot, of course, used directly in plants as well. But that's where we are trying to address the issue. And now, the extreme right is the applications. Where is either this electricity or this energy? Why are we importing oil? Where is it being used? And so the largest bar there is industrial use. These industries are the hard to abate sectors as well. It's refineries, it's steel mills, it's the cement producing plants, all of them are there. But then there's also a lot of MSMEs. About quarter of our GDP relies on MSMEs, about 6 crore independent individual businesses, which may be contributing on a minuscule level or a moderate level, but they're all part of that big bar that you see as industry. And then the regular culprits, you have the transport here at the bottom, residential, which is the building spaces, auxiliary things, agriculture is one of it. So, this data basically is important because it will tell us if I have to drive net zero, where, based on your own business, based on where you are in this entire chart, you can make a decision. So, not all decisions are at here, is the point, or at the extreme end. In terms of electrification, before I go to the next, two things have of course happened. So, a lot of renewable energy generation itself has come, which is shown over here, and all of that goes to that electricity generation, solar, wind, all the 180 gigawatts approximately that I mentioned. But then we also have use cases which are growing, like the electric vehicle space, right? Maybe not as fast as the government anticipated when they had FAME 1 come out in 2015, but it's growing. The last year has been better, and hopefully we go up from approximately 3,500 four-wheelers being sold per month to maybe more, right? But that's taking care of one small segment there on the transport side. What about the industry, which is the biggest part? Can we electrify industry? Maybe not. What else can we do? These are some of the questions which are going to be addressed in their own respective ways. I'll fast forward and say while the challenge seems complicated, what's the report card on this so far? So last year, 2023 April, the Central Electricity Authority published what I feel is a pretty comprehensive view on how is our energy generation mix shifting. meaning we were 70% coal and thermal. Are we shifting away from it? Is progress seen on ground, basically? And this is that. So, in quick summary, three main statements is the 2023 report says we have met our Paris goals, so 2015, the ones which I showed in the table. So, what we committed 8 years ago, and of course, like I said, we have made it more aggressive now, but 2015, whatever was committed on NDCs in terms of non-fossil fuel based installed capacity and emission intensity reduction has been met. Okay. Now, second thing that happened is since 2015, we increased our goals, but we are doing well on that also, specifically in terms of installations. We have been doing well. The black lining to this white cloud, if I may, is the fact that while the installations have grown significantly, solar, wind, of course, I am talking about, the generation capacity has still not reached to the level we may like. This report says 22%. I had a number of 15% based on some newspaper data, but the report says our generation mix is 22% renewable and the rest still coal and thermal. In Tamil Nadu specifically, last May, we had some days where we had the peak electricity demand ever that Tamil Nadu has witnessed. Many parts of the countries also had that similar demand. But in Tamil Nadu, we also had last year itself, I think in April, days where our renewable generation was 40%. Means the amount of energy that we are feeding into our grid had reached 40%. Of course, Tamil Nadu is having a lot of wind already and is growing in terms of solar. So, in terms of India, if you see, the coastal states will always do well on this one metric. If I take the east corridor, Jharkhand, Orissa, Andhra is our thermal base, coal power plant base. That's almost 80% of that region's power is coal. That's not going to change very soon. But as a nation, we are doing well. According to, again, last year, jury is still out on whether we will reach 45%. We are bullish. I mean, if you read Prime Minister's statement, he has said that we are, I think we are about 33% according to data mentioned and published. So 45% is far, and so we need to still do more things, but it's going well. That's the first aspect of this. Now, this is from a point of view of going at the source of the problem, which is the generation side. In terms of the other extreme, which is where people are consuming this and what are they doing about. So, I take it to the other extreme, which is the compliance and regulatory side, which broadly is the ESG regulation, which SEBI made mandatory from last financial year for the top 1,000 companies listed on the stock market by market valuation at that time. So, those 1,000 companies were basically asked to make disclosures on ESG, and I am sorry, all of this is not readable. Maybe you can share this copy with you later. But there's plan for the next few years to make these disclosures at first level mandatory, which has happened. Then to be accompanied with assurances, which has also started. Assurance means a third party has to say that what this company is disclosing is true. And then to a level where maybe this is beyond, so it's going beyond just assurance by some company, and there's believable data that is put that this is all true. Okay, so this is what a regulator can do. Like I said, this is, I feel this is a top-down approach because this is attacking all large industries. And like I showed in my bar chart, industries do form the largest aspect of this. On the transportation side, I don't need to say because we all know that one, there is electric vehicle, but there is Bharat Stage 6. So, there is already a lot happening. On the buildings and commercial aspects, we have these ratings such as IGBC and GRIA and all those kind of things, right? So, that's to me the context of what's happening. I believe the speakers will shed more light on their perspectives as they see it. We'll hear whether they see this rosy or not. I feel there's an opportunity for us to look at it differently. Not just see that, maybe I'll reserve this some for later stages, but what I did want to point out is, I feel for us as a country, we should see this as a competitive advantage. Can technologies developed as a result of this challenge we are facing be used commercially even outside the country, and where are those opportunities? So, I look at it that way. While doing that, of course, national priorities are important. So, one is the NDCs, but the second is also what we owe to the society in general. The NDCs are meant to take care of broad fabric, not just think of targets on energy side, but also think of the social aspects, the economic aspects. So they are broader, and that's why I feel national priorities, of course, will be important. They are embedded, but I kind of highlight it, and the wide lens approach we'll talk at the end. So that's a quick context from my side. I wanted to start with our first speaker, Swati, to come up and share her thoughts on this.